Hello, Guru Nation. Welcome back for part two with Daniel Nadal. Daniel is from Miami, Florida. He actually has two companies. One is called ClinSearch, and the other one is Next Phase Research. So, SMO and a service provider in the industry. Daniel, we did an interview last week, shattered records on his story. People were commenting very inspirational. I really enjoyed this interview. I love Daniel's personality. I thought they were talking about me because I'm Dan too, but no, they're talking about your personality, Daniel. So I had to bring you back on for part two because we didn't focus enough on your companies and what they actually do. We know we spent the whole time on your background, which was great. I'm glad we did that because people liked it, right? It's inspiration sells more. But let's
Like it's a horror movie.
yeah, but let's get practical with this one. Let's start with ClinSearch. What does ClinSearch do? You've had it from July 2012 until present. So can you give us like a little info on what ClinSearch actually does?
Yeah, I mean, originally back in 2012, I think we kind of harped on it on the original story. I originally started off as a brokering company, so I tried to do the whole brokering. It didn't work out.
You're
Because
listening.
yeah, what ends up happening is that it's easy to keep track of local clients, the ones that you're in constant contact with, but too many sites, other states. It was hard to keep track of who really ended up getting what trial or didn't. And then what do they end up doing? Well, you'd end up having two sets of like, oh wow, I met this one, who knows you, and that one, and you're kind of the last one to know they got the trial. So it didn't take long to figure out that that wasn't really the niche for me. So then we got more into consulting. I mean, I had my own site. Oh, I think we hashed all that last time we spoke. So
Yeah.
I had been on the site side. I had tried the brokering side. Consulting was a kind of like an in between. I think we had spoken earlier that my family, they've been in medicine for many years. So one of the advantages that I had was I had access to doctors' offices. Not just small doctors' offices, but rather large practices.
But Chris is here.
So
Chris wants to jump the gun. We
sure.
like to let stories develop, but Chris, he's already
I
on
figured
it.
you covered this in your last
It's only
conversation.
been 1 minute, but Chris is like, "What do you mean he owns the SMO and he's already studied broker? How is he doing both?" What? Maybe we start with
Well,
there.
remember that's how it started.
Chris,
ClinSearch. Yeah, that's how it started. But honestly, the brokering thing just wasn't working out. At the end of the day, okay, I'm getting paid by two clients out of maybe five that actually got into a trial. Um, so I kind of left that and I got more into the consulting side. The consulting, I learned a lot of tricks of the trade. There's a lot of I'm still learning things today. Things are constantly changing. Everything that was right a year ago, today you got to do it different due to COVID or whatnot.
so typical client for you on the consulting on the ClinSearch side, like
We
what?
work more with managed care providers. It's really how we started.
And
Yeah, so a lot of these groups, yeah, a lot of these groups could have 5, 6 clinics. One of our clients it has probably hundreds of clinics, but we don't open one in every individual site. Because I mean, at the end of the day, if you have transport buses and you have a lot of faculties available to you that a mom and pop research site won't have, well, you're able to do things that for instance, we'll just open up a central location. Okay, this one's in between all your PCP locations. Because mind you, some of these groups have 30 doctors, some have 3 doctors. They vary in size. I'm not familiar with MSOs.
Chris says some have one. Hey, there you go, Chris.
Exactly. No, definitely.
One
Definitely.
doctor, one RN. That's it.
That's really all you need. I mean, to be honest, I do work with. We do have a client that's like that as well. His coordinator slash sub investigator. It's basically a 2-man show. The nurse practitioner. She's a rock star. I don't know how she does it, and still has hair and and still manages to look young. But they're basically a 2-man show with a lot of volume. They hire per diem staff. We're kind of I was having this conversation today with one of the people that works for me. I call her a Swiss Army machete. In a way, that's kind of what our company is. Yeah, because Swiss Army knives just aren't cool enough. So I had to give it that extra oomph. So I mean, long story short, different clients are gonna need different things. As an SMO, you're gonna have one client that's gonna have a million patients, and they're only going to need you for the clinical research aspect of things. You're going to have others that might have some clinical research knowledge, and they just opened up one of these clinics. Maybe they have 3 or 4 locations, but they don't really know how to get the wheels kind of moving. So at the end of the day, you're kind of we're a jack of all trades at the end of the day. I'm sure within your sites, in one site, you're kind of like a father, and the other side, you're kind of like, yeah, go in, like you guys are monitoring right now.
I mean, we do
You know,
that too. Like we have clients that pay us like a flat fee. We talked about it last time. It's like pretty affordable for the client. It's like 1,300 bucks a month, and we do the biz dev and all the stuff. So it's kind of similar to what you do, but you take a more like active involvement
exactly.
as far as run the business, more of like the SMO model. How does that work?
Exactly.
Like business wise, are you happy with that model? What is good and bad about it, I guess?
To be honest, I mean, the bad thing is always, to expand, you're always going to have to take risk. And sometimes the risk bites you in the, what. I mean, honestly, I would say that's probably the biggest warning, like don't bite off more than you could chew. We kind of got stuck into a situation like that. It's an offsite, it's a far off site. COVID happened, so we couldn't really go as often as we'd like to. So, I mean, don't get me wrong. Hey, we have tragedies, annually, the things we would have done differently. Obviously things change, as the business grows around us. So obviously what was a great deal for you 10 years ago or 5 years ago, now you're kind of like, man, if I would have, thought of it this way, obviously things would run smoother, depending on the kind of clientele you work with as well. Since we work with a lot of managed care providers, there's a lot of competition amongst them, because at the end of the day, remember basically they make money.
There because more doctors are turning into managed care, like more doctors' offices are. We're here actually at a doctor's office, Dr. Al Jazirely. He's one of the last of a dying breed.
Standalones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Special, Chris. It's special when you get those doctors. Chris agreeing with me 100%. Anything else you want to ask Daniel?
Well, Chris, to be honest, I love those doctors too, because to be honest, it's one office, it's one person to speak to, as opposed to when you work with a group and you got to talk to the data manager for a list, and so it's got its pluses and negatives.
Absolutely.
So Daniel, as far as can you give us, I guess, how do you differentiate between ClinSearch, like when you come across business development and business opportunity, how do you differentiate between, okay, this is going to be a client or a business
ClinSearch and next phase.
ClinSearch, and then this one's going to be for next phase?
Well, remember that the brokering thing was at the beginning and the consulting. Since then, we've shifted more to a biobanking type of company. So we're doing preclinical on the ClinSearch side, and then next phase is handling the clinical typical phase 1 through 4 fun things that we do. But with ClinSearch, we're focusing more on the preclinical aspect of things.
Oh, with the preclinical.
Yeah, so, exactly. So the biobanking is basically preclinical. So they could buy tissue samples that are oncology samples. They could buy blood samples, saliva, you name it. There's a sample for it.
I know we talked a little bit about it last time, but can you kind of give us like overview of that business model of biobanking and things like this? Because a lot of people, myself, don't know much about it.
Yeah, I mean, basically, how it works is basically the same way that you have CROs on the clinical trial aspect of things. You have CROs on the preclinical. Now, the CROs, they kind of function a little bit different.
Charles River,
whereas the CRO,
they're like the biggest.
It's almost like a broker. So basically, we work with universities. We work with different types of companies that want to buy these. Like I said, whether it's tissue samples, stool samples, you name it, there's a sample. But basically, what they do is they find umbrellas, let's call them. You know what I mean? Like basically networks that already work with physicians at that capacity. So let's say a company like Syneos or Icon, it could be any company. Right. If you notice, more of these companies are getting into that aspect of the game, which I'm kind of surprised it took them that long to get involved in the preclinical, and the trials are a lot easier, yet very similar.
I see. So like the biggest market leader in the preclinical space is Charles River Lab, right? Like they're the biggest.
Yeah, they're one, but I mean, there's a bunch of smaller companies. iSpecimen does it. There's a billion little companies that buy samples.
Even
They're
Catalent,
kind of
right?
eBay-ish.
Hasn't
Who?
Catalent gotten into this business too?
To be honest, I'm not even sure. Because remember, I kind of work with certain clients. So outside of that, yeah, I mean, if they follow my lab, great. But
I see.
yeah,
Okay, so the
even
biobank,
Icon's getting into it.
everyone is, right? Like, so it makes
Yeah,
sense. The ClinSearch, you're doing like more of the preclinical now. The brokering thing
yeah,
doesn't really work out too well, or it worked out, but you can't
exactly,
manage it properly, and it requires a lot of trust and hands-on and
exactly.
like that. So you have the preclinical with the biobanking, which is something very interesting, Chris, actually, because Daniel's positioned himself to get access to the sponsors in the preclinical phase, and then by the time they need, phase 1, 2, 3, they already know him and they know next phase. I
Yeah.
imagine that the businesses fit
To
very.
be honest, I wish it would kind of work that directly. I mean, it doesn't really always work that way. And remember that a lot of times by the time they're in the microbiology labs, it's little companies you've never heard of. You're like, who are you? You know, like honestly, it's a little hole in the wall, and you're like,
Yeah.
wow, like this is actually so. And a lot of times that's the AstraZeneca or the bigger fish will come in later and be like, hey, we got the money to push you to the next level. Hey, we'll buy you. You know, so a lot of times it's actually a lot of smaller companies, but Charles River is probably the biggest name out there.
CRO wise, right? The
Exactly, exactly.
Do you know
But I think they focus on oncology, don't they?
that from what I understand, Charles River is focused on all things preclinical. From what I understand,
Nice,
I've actually got to analyze the stock because I started doing stocks on the videos. So I need to
nice,
analyze that stock to so I'll learn a little bit more about Charles River because us in the
perfect.
clinical, we don't really deal with Charles River labs. I mean, we deal with Cineos, PPD, IQVIA, all that kind of.
Exactly. Yeah, the big names, PPD.
Yeah, just like
To
you
be honest, it was happening.
with the next phase. It's the same sponsors.
Well, next phase, see, next phase is more of the SMO, and that's the reason why we don't do the brokering. Because if we got the trials and we can find, again, right now we're focused in the South Florida and Tampa markets. We're in Las Vegas, so we're kind of Las Vegas is our next push forward. Tampa's pretty much it's set. So we're
Why
not really.
why did you choose Vegas after Florida?
To be honest, they have same way we have our DIA conventions. We go to these little conventions for MSOs and things like that, which is kind of like the managed care end of things. We meet a lot of different MSO organizations. Some organizations are not for profits. So, I mean, but there's a whole world out there of potential. In Las Vegas, it's a great operation. It's a non for profit. They basically work in underserved areas. Research and that kind of go hand in hand. So we opened up there. We got psychiatry, we got cardiology, we got internal medicine. Like I said, it's in the infancy, and it's kind of. I'm actually flying to Vegas next week.
Oh, nice. Life is
Yeah,
tough, Daniel. Life is tough.
it really is because when everybody's having fun going to Vegas and you're there in the hotel arriving at 1 a.m. when everybody's drunk wearing beer goggles and you're like, I gotta be up at 7 a.m. It ain't that fun.
You got to have the diamond hands. Don't fold. Don't fold. Chris, amateur
Exactly.
player, actually semi-pro, not amateur. That's sorry for the semi-pro poker player.
Amateur.
Now he's amateur, so he can
Played
tell us.
many years.
He can tell us all about it. So
So we followed him and gave him our chips.
yeah. He can go with you and play a couple hands. But so it's
There you
interesting
go.
how your two businesses, I guess, coexist. And speaking as someone who owns several also, to me, I find that challenging, but also a lot of I think that's where all the opportunities are to where, okay, you have one business, you have another business. So 1+1 is 2. But if you find ways to connect them, if 1+1 becomes like 3, 4, 5, or it could
Of
be
course.
whatever. So have you started thinking about that? I'm sure you have because you're an entrepreneur, Daniel.
I wish, man. I'm entre poor right now. I'm not far from entrepreneur. Entre poor, maybe.
No. You were highly recommended by Carla Vera, who we both know. and love. She's a Patreon.
All
member.
hail. All hail.
Martha is gonna do big things. Chris, we met her husband in Santa Monica here in LA.
Yep.
That we actually
They're good people.
we're doing some business with her a little bit. Like we're trying to do some business with her with the monitoring and our CRO. So so like for you to find, are you looking at any other business opportunities like or is the next stage of your career to expand next phase?
To be honest, I kind of well, I mean, I am in another field, in another business field, which has nothing to do with medical at all. We just bought we're into reef tanks, so we're kind of dorks. We bought a fish food company. We're into reef tanks, coral reefs and stuff like that.
Oh, coral reefs. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so me and my buddy, yeah, my buddy had his own company, and he got married to a doctor. They've gotten super busy at the practice, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna have to stop making it." I'm like, "Wait, brother, hold on, hey, no, don't stop making it. I want in, I want in."
These doctors with the disposable income, I wish if on cue Dr. Al would walk through the door right now, it would be amazing, but I doubt that's happening.
There's diamonds in the rough, man. There's diamonds in the rough. They're out there. The good doctors are out there.
Interesting. All right. So what kind of I guess how do you do biz dev for your two companies, and then which one do you focus on more right
Well,
now?
remember, it's completely different. I mean, each company has its own workers. You know what I mean? Like people that make it work. It's not me. I just got the beautiful smile. To be honest, it's the people that work with me. You know what I mean? Like, that they don't work for me. They work with me. You know, at the end of the day, I'm always like, hey, you know, like I hope I'm a billionaire
This is
so
on
everybody could be a
cue,
millionaire.
almost exactly on cue. Dr. Al,
Hi, doctor.
Hi,
How are you, doctor?
you want to
I'm
interview
Dr.
Daniel?
Al-Zahedli.
This is Daniel from
Nice to meet you.
Miami, and he runs a SMO. Ask him a quick question, like anything. We're live.
Really?
Yeah, here.
I'm a professional hand model.
How are you?
Pretty good. I can't complain. Staying healthy.
What's your model for SMO?
What's my model?
Yeah. What do you do with how you run it?
Well, okay. Well, to be honest, we staff our own sites, so that's why we kind of pick the ones that we know we could grow into big giant things. So basically, we staff it, we run it, we handle the regulatories. Little by little, we start being able to get into the, not EMRs, but we start getting in touch with, like I said, it's a lot of red tape. So we start getting the people in contact who give us the list. I mean, we basically run the entire research show. We let the doctors see patients and do what they do best.
Are you critiquing the business plan? But let's critique that. This is good because Dr. Al, I mean, he's a business person as well. I was just telling Daniel, Dr. Al.
I was just like last week or a couple of weeks ago when he was here, I was talking to Dan about me joining much bigger group in oncology, like almost like more than 100 sites of oncologists.
Wow.
So I'm trying to create an SMO model for them. So
Well,
that's why I'm asking you
Daniel's brain. This is what.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, what I would start is when you have 100 doctors, in other words, are they different locations? Because number one, the most important thing is find out who has the most volume, because you can have 100 doctors, but let's say you put that trial in a doctor in Wyoming, I'm just throwing a location, and he gets you 3 patients, but you had a doctor at UCLA that could have gotten you 20 patients. Your SMO is going to struggle because now you're getting paid whatever it is your fee is with your clients, so and I learned this when I was a coordinator. The company I worked for, they worked with a pulmonology group. Now, mind you, it was one group, 30 of them together, right? All in South Florida. But then what ended up happening is you had maybe 2 doctors that were referring and putting their heart into it. And then everybody else was sharing in the, I don't know how their model was split up, but obviously there was profit sharing.
Their population even.
Yeah. Some of the 2 doctors lost interest and they ended up with no doctors that wanted to refer, because imagine you're putting in 10 patients and none of the other ones are putting anything in. You're going to get tired of being the only one putting patients in, because at the end of the day, your hard work, it's your paperwork, it's your monitoring visits, it's your
owner, Daniel, for like 12 years.
Really?
Yeah. So Dr. Al wants to do exactly this, what you're doing with Next Phase, but for oncology, because he's an oncologist.
I love it. Oncology is half of all the trials.
I need to connect with you, Daniel. I need to get some.
Yeah. I mean, that is my number, Doc. I'm all about sharing the wealth of knowledge, man. You know what I mean? When the more, if we together we're strong, divided we fall. You know.
So let's give Dr. Al some business coaching. So what are you doing right now with this 100 oncologist group?
I don't know. Just like I just finished calling them and talking to them.
Mhm.
They're more than happy to work with me and everything.
Should he
They-
be concerned?
No, I mean, look,
him,
you're never
okay.
concerned because the only
You're gonna show
what?
them everything, and then they're gonna like figure it out on their own, right? So like, how would you approach this, Daniel, if you were Dr.
For
Al?
one, how long have you been in research, doctor?
I'm sorry,
How long have you been doing trials?
about 15, 20 years.
Okay, so you can't show them 15, 20 years.
For my own. Only for
No,
my
no, no. What I wanted to tell you was there's no way they're going to get 15 to 20 years worth of knowledge from you and go. At the end of the day, believe me, I get ripped off annually. You'll meet one client that you think is going to be great and then they're not. You know, and it doesn't happen as often anymore because, like I said, we've become more, we pick and choose more now. Before, remember, we're new, we didn't have, and we thought everybody was going to be like us, you know, and everything was going to be great. Well, you end up losing a lot on the bad ones, you know, because let's say you got a site you're in California. Let's say one of your doctors is in New York. Well, what if you got to fly to New York? Every time you fly to them, you're investing money. Your hotel, you're investing money. It's hard for you to be able to supervise a doctor from over there if you're all the way in
all of
California.
them here in LA area, all the oncologists in the LA area, and actually they have they established some kind of research and they have their PI and everything, but they want to expand doing research because okay, they want to do more stuff in oncology then, and that's why
Yeah.
I'm joining them as the model they want to implement it is that I share their oncology trial, they share my oncology trial. Okay,
Got you, got you.
and that's
Now, I would try to find out how many trials they have and how many trials you have, because if you're getting invites left and right from 15 years of experience and they're not, you know, if it's your SMO, you should be selective in who gets which trial. It shouldn't be open lines of communication because they might have less trials than you. So then who's
have
benefiting?
less trial than me. Okay, but
Yeah.
they're willing as preliminary thing is like to let me go into their sites, okay, and put my trials and me managing the trials or they managing the trials.
That's good. I love the idea. The one thing I would do with them is maybe see if you could get a no compete in place. Number one, you know, no compete 20 miles from my wherever location they let you go into that becomes part of your SMO. Okay, within 20 miles a year, if you guys want to break up with me, that's fine. But hey, for at least for a year, you can do research within 10 miles a year. Something like that will protect you. At the end of the day, if it's your SMO, I mean, the money will come into you.
See? Wow.
This is exactly what he needed, Daniel. This is why you are.
We live in Miami. We swim with sharks all day, and they're always trying to rip us off. So we gotta, you know.
He's the.
It's only because I've been ripped off that I think of these things.
So Dr. Al is actually a Latinos in Clinical Research co-founder, and look what we got him today. We're gonna
Ooh,
officially
Lovely.
ooh,
get him.
guys.
All right.
Nice.
He's one of the co-founders. Here you go,
I'm
Dr.
gonna put it
Al.
on.
He treats like mostly what, like in your other office, it's like 99% Hispanic.
Spanish.
Hispanics. Well, he's in California.
Yeah, it's in East LA, so it's you know, like 99, literally 99% Hispanic.
You've been knighted now. You've been knighted by Latinos. This is the way Latinos knight people. You know, in England they knight you.
You're the official.
You gotta wear it for the LICR meetings now.
That's beautiful. Look, now we
Nice.
get Dr. Al on the Zoom calls for Latinos.
Ah,
I need a shirt too. What is this? Where's my shirt?
Look at this guy.
Hey, take a picture. Take a picture. We need it for the Instagram.
Oh, take a
Here,
picture.
here. Let's get it for the. So, so we're actually gonna go to Dr. Al's.
When you gonna go? We're open now.
Yeah. So Daniel, Dr. Al has he's doing oncology. He met this group of 100 oncologists, but he also does general medicine too. So
Nice.
Chris and I, thank you. Chris and I do some consulting for him, like I explained earlier. But then I also monitor some of his studies, you know, because I'm a contract CRA. So
Nice.
you know, we're trying to get him more and more studies, but I think this SMO thing with the oncologist is like a really good opportunity. It's a lot of doctors. So I think what Daniel's saying is maybe.
I don't think all of them are involved in it, and it is like different model. When I talk to them now, they they have only like a couple of studies open, but they refer their patient out to university. Okay.
Exactly.
I'm trying to get these patients that refer to the university and find out what population they are, so I can find out a clinical trial for that population. There's
Exactly.
about 3 to 5 patients a month for the
And
university.
another advantage, sorry to interrupt, another advantage you have is, I mean, oncology is basically half of all trials. So diabetes, COVID, this, that, that's half the trials. The other half are all oncology. So with all the different subspecialties within oncology. Now, what I would recommend is start with one location, because if you start at 4, remember, they're not going to give you the trial at all 4 locations. So now you're paying a coordinator, you're paying everything. Each site's going to be overhead, depending on how your model works. So you're better off focusing on one at a time, build it up, get 4. Remember, at the end of the day, once you start building a reputation for your brand, because that's what you're creating, your SMO is a brand. Once you create a name, well, then, Icon, I don't know. One thing we're not into is we don't have any oncologists on our team, but I wouldn't be able to tell you the biggest companies that do. But once you're a known name, keep in mind during site selection, except for the sites they know, they're kind of blindfolded based off a questionnaire. Now once you create a brand and everybody knows who you are, hey, then it makes it easier for you to open up
Start
additional
looking at
locations.
the research. Are you kidding me? This thing is gonna start.
It
It is. It's already started, man. That video, I mean, yeah, there's so much going on with Dr. Al, but yeah, I think it's very interesting to have. You know how many people just today, Daniel? I had somebody. If you don't believe me, well, I don't want to give away their info, but every day somebody says, "I want to start an SMO. I want to start an SMO. I want to start an SMO." I always tell them start one site first, because you don't know what you're doing.
Exactly.
You know, Dr. Al.
1 second, guys. That's my
that
son.
advice.
Give me 1 second.
Yeah, Dr. L took
Sorry.
that advice. He started a site. Now he's got another. So now he's ready. He's at the stage where he's ready to expand. But when somebody doesn't know what they're doing, you need to start with just one site.
Exactly. And not just that, but then the other site could get you, into a bunch of headaches. So you've been doing this for 15 years. It only takes one disaster at your other site to be like, oh no, look what happened there.
That's what I'm trying to avoid. That's why I'm trying
Yeah.
to a good team
The
together.
first thing you need, doctor, is you're gonna need a right hand. You know what I mean? Like somebody, I don't know, Dan or whoever, that could go to the other site and be real with you.
Yeah,
Because if you got somebody going to the site, it's fine. And we've had this. Everything is great. Everything is great. And then all of a sudden you go and you're like, what is this? And there's a mountain of trash, let's call it. You don't want that, because again, every strike you get, how many strikes before a pharmaceutical company blacklists you,
Oh, no.
So
we don't want this. No, I have a very good right hand that she's very meticulous and she's very up to date in her paperwork and everything.
Perfect.
Dan and Chris, they can notice that, will know that. But
she's a CRC Academy graduate, so
nice.
It makes
and that's something that's good to do too. I always tell people, look, if you're gonna go find a new coordinator, because a lot of times older coordinators, they've been trained the way, they've worked X amount of years that way. I'm always like, you go to a medical assistant school, like your academy, go to the medical assistant school. If you call a medical assistant school, you tell them, hey, I want your shining star. They're gonna be more than happy to get you their best one, because now that they get to, they get to market, hey, we got job placement. They don't really. You call them asking for an employee, and they got you one. Now the difference is that you get that medical assistant, somebody who just graduated from your academy, right? You're gonna start them off way lower than what a coordinator from the street's gonna come in, because they're gonna be like, hey, I want 1,000 a week, and that's what I made at my last job. Well, you're starting somebody at a medical assistant salary for 3 months. Hey, this is probationary. Let's see how good you are. Within 3 months, you're gonna know if they got. Well, you're Latino. Chipa. Chipa is basically you learn quick and you don't make the same mistake twice. You can make mistakes. We all make mistakes. I make mistakes every day of my life. Now I won't make the same mistake twice, except I got like 20 kids. But that's not just kidding. Only four. But long story short, eventually you start picking up these diamonds in the rough that you mold to learn your way, because your 15 years of working, that's what you're trying to spread to every single site within your SMO. You want them to work the way you work, because if you work one way and your other site does things their own way, you have an ICF process checklist, the other site doesn't. Your source, documents time sitting, the other one doesn't. You don't have a brand, you have a mess. And then pharmaceutical companies, so it grows organically. Yeah, it grows organically. It's not gonna grow like it's a great idea, 100 doctors at once. But you could already see the pitfalls that are going to come. Which doctor you're going to give the trial to. There's so many logistics that you're better off focusing on the one that has the volume. The busiest center, pick that one, the doctor that's going to give you time, because you might have a super great doctor that
Bird by bird. There's
I've never done one, but you're measuring millimeters and stuff. Like, you know,
No, you're absolutely
it's
right.
hard work.
We do. Yeah, I think we
Yeah.
need to be very nice, just like slow down and start.
Yeah.
And talk
Yeah. Now, having said that, your idea could probably be a lot more profitable than even my idea, because oncology, I mean, let's face it, we're all in a race against cancer. So one thing we could all agree on, we can't agree on politics, baseball teams, football teams. We could all agree that we want to kick cancer's butt. You know what I mean? So the field you're in, you know, that niche, let's say, you know, because you also have niches. Psychiatry is a niche, oncology is the niche to be on. If you could build what you want to build, and I don't see why you can't, then, you know, just stepping stones. Remember, you know, Rome wasn't built in a day. It was destroyed in a day, but
Dr. Al's really building his brand with us as well, because remember the Kintara, when we did the video on Kintara, their CEO wants to come on our show.
Really?
Yep.
that's
Ooh.
awesome.
Yep.
That's awesome.
We've become, and this is what they said, Chris can attest to this, they're social investors. That's the word they use, right, Chris? I'm not making this up.
They're smart.
Book,
They're
guys.
smart.
There's a book exactly what you're discussing, all right? It's written
Yeah.
by
He's
Anne,
the one who books.
Anne Lamott. It's called Bird by Bird. So basically,
Nice.
it's about writer's block, but it can be applied to what you're doing, but it's about writer's block. You're a writer, you have all these ideas. Oh, I need to like write this book, but I have 10 books I want to write. Well, how do you get through with it? Bird by bird. One at a
Exactly.
time.
Sentence by sentence in a day. That's
Yeah.
that's the magic of
Same
big
thing with these
thinking.
100 oncologists. Bird by bird, PI by PI. You could write that book. You write that book.
I know, but the beautiful thing about it that they have already, they're trying to build up like a niche of a trial,
Yeah.
but I don't think they're into the trial too much because they're too busy in other stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
So maybe I will start with them.
Yeah.
Okay, they have a PI that I talked to today
Okay.
also,
Okay.
and he's more than happy to
You see,
integrate whatever
Dr.
I
Al's
have.
always moving, man. You know, we're
That's what it takes.
podcast. Dr. Al's making business moves.
Hey, if he ain't doing it, somebody else is gonna do it. You know what I mean? So
Very
you
good.
either move or you let everybody pass you by and then complain.
I'm gonna
If
use
you
that
don't
as a
do it,
quote.
somebody else gonna do it. And it's-
Exactly. You gotta take life by the throat, man. There's no
Oh,
second
I'll write
chances.
that down.
Mhm.
That's a
So
good quote.
he writes quotes also.
Yeah, yeah, we have to. We have marketing people. So that's good, Daniel. I mean, I appreciate you coming on today and kind of giving us all some advice on SMOs. I think we all agree if you are just starting out as a site owner, just start with one site, bird by bird. All right, everybody
Exactly.
read that book. It's about writers, but it applies to you too. If you have 100 or 50 or 5, that doesn't matter. One at a time. Bird by
Exactly.
bird. That's how you count all the birds.
Yep.
And that's for everything in life too. It's not just business. I mean, you got a big problem in front of you. Okay, where do you start? You know, the first step in the right direction is the most important one.
Yep.
Well, Daniel Nadal links his LinkedIn underneath the video, underneath the show note. Go follow him. He has 1,999 followers.
Wow.
So number
Wow.
2,000, you're gonna get something. Maybe
That's a free balloon and
maybe a copy of Bird by Bird shipped to you.
there you go.
Chris Sauber will ship it to your house.
Nice.
Yeah, Chris is here.
Is it on Amazon? I'll buy it.
Already introduced me a couple times.
But Bird by Bird, you're gonna send the book now to
I
the
am,
2,000
okay.
followers.
I'm
Wait,
gonna
let me
leave
check.
Nice.
Let me check, Daniel. Since we talked, if you still have 1999, because we're not live right now. So let's see.
Daniel.
If you already have 2,000, this contest is off. But if you don't, ooh, 1999.
Nice.
Contest is on, guys. Number 2,000. You gotta let us know who it is. They get a copy of Bird by Bird. Only the paperback, guys. You know, it's only $7. I can't afford more than this right now. So
Everybody's looking at the LinkedIn counter.
yeah, we're looking like your ticker. We're refreshing every 5 seconds. I'm gonna see. You keep track of who's number 2,000 and let me know.
Now my ex-wife sneaks in and gets 2,000. Do we gotta send her the book? Can we keep the book with my
Send you bird by bird. But thank you very much, Daniel, for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, brother.
Run. And we gotta actually monitor here, but we appreciate your time, and we're gonna do part 3, part 4, because each time you come on, it's like value bombs, inspiration. This time you gave some inspiration to Dr. Al. He's already messaging you on LinkedIn.
No, I'm sending
Yeah, whatever you guys need, man. Whatever you guys need,
No.
reach out.
Okay, perfect. So thank
Nice
you,
meeting
guys.
you, Chris. Take care, Doc.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
Take care, Dan.
Nice meeting you.
Likewise, Doc. Hey, thank you, brother.
Take care, man.
Thank
We'll talk
you.
soon.
I got a dinner now. Take care, guys.
Bye bye.